Great. Let's talk about fundraising. And for founders who are fundraising, all the tasks that go along with fundraising, getting your story and your pitch dialed, making materials, finding the right investors for your opportunity, getting in front of those investors, following up. Jeremy, where do you see AI playing a role in this whole world for founders?
Yeah. I think it's a massively inefficient matching problem right now in terms of matching founders who are trying to raise money with investors who are seeking to deploy capital. It's a sort of crazy old school world of who knows who and warm introductions and a lot of I think very inefficient processes when you kind of apply system thinking to it, because there's really not that many variables when you look at an investor's preferences. There's how big are the checks they write, what are the sectors they're interested in investing in, do they lead or do they follow, and their thesis on the investments that they're making. And all of those things in my mind are quite amenable to technologies like GPT to sort of understand the narrative of a story, a narrative of a fundraise, and the preferences of an investor and match those two together. So at Platform, we as I mentioned earlier, we have this tool we developed called DexSend. It's always an interesting one when you build something to solve your own use case. So we built DexSend to solve our own problem, which was how do we manage this like huge pipeline of endless decks that come towards us and try and go through them efficiently. And we now make that available for free to anyone to use. So by all means, check it out. So when you upload the deck as a founder, it will use AI to actually analyze your narrative and kind of give summaries and then match those to investors based on its analysis of the narrative. And that really does two things. It makes the match more efficient, but it gives the founder some really good feedback on their deck, because there are definitely even quite experienced founders tend to miss key parts of the narrative or miss slides in their narrative. So being able to give them that feedback almost in real time is super useful.
Yeah, that sounds like a super cool tool. Chhavi, what do you think for fundraising for founders? How do these tools come into play?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So the way I look at fundraisers is a little bit more qualitative than quantitative. So if you assume that you do have to reach out to 1,000 VC funds to get funding, then it is a problem and you want to automate that. And if ChatGPT can help you do that, why not? The way I approach this is it's more qualitative. So you try and find out the ones that you are connected with, get an introduction, see if they're interested. Many times they might have a thesis that's different that you can find out. If that's the case, and they like you, they're going to introduce you to someone whose thesis aligns with yours. So it's a lot more high-tech kind of approach, where the initial parts of preparing yourself as a company for fundraise can be automated, can leverage ChatGPT. But once you have all the documentation in place, the lists are out there, the people are out there, it's a lot more of a high-touch kind of qualitative process than quantitative. So I see limited use in using ChatGPT for fundraise only up to the point where you're preparing yourself as a company. So cleaning up your deck, having your legal documentations in place, having a data room, having a list of VC funds that you want to compile, all of those things, obviously you can automate. Once you have a list, once you know whom to reach out to, everything else beyond that, thankfully, is still very, very human. And I would suggest you continue to not force ChatGPT or any such technology into a process unless you naturally think it's applicable there. So if you find yourself doing something brainless and repetitive, obviously, by all means, use that. But I doubt if that's what you're doing at the very end of your fundraise journey, it might not be a good thing to do. So once you get in front of investors, once you're able to find some, leave every tech aside and make sure you connect with them on a human basis, because that's how fundraisers are done mostly.
At the end of the day, yeah.